Beneath the veneer. The morning after the gala, Olivia reviewed her footage in her cramped apartment, the steam from her coffee misting the screen. The moment between Julian and Penny replayed before her, his transformation from ice to warmth captivating her. On impulse, she emailed Francine Winters. "I'd like to speak with Mr. Blackwood about a documentary project focusing on philanthropists and their personal connections to causes." To her shock, she received a response within the hour. Not from Francine, but from Julian's personal assistant. "Mr. Blackwood requests your presence at Nexus Tower today at 2 p.m. Bring your footage." The Nexus Technologies headquarters dominated the Manhattan skyline, a gleaming spire of glass and steel. Olivia clutched her portfolio case as the express elevator whisked her to the 87th floor. A strikingly elegant woman with silver-streaked auburn hair greeted her. "I'm Vivienne Parker, Mr. Blackwood's chief of staff. He's running late. This way, please." Vivienne led her into a minimalist conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "Water? Coffee?" "I'm fine, thank you," Olivia replied, trying to calm her nerves. "Does Mr. Blackwood often take meetings with random videographers?" A hint of amusement crossed Vivienne's face. "Mr. Blackwood never does anything without purpose. I suggest you prepare yourself." 20 minutes later, Julian Blackwood strode in, his tailored charcoal suit a stark contrast to the brilliant blue sky beyond the windows. In daylight, Olivia noticed details she'd missed: the intensity of his gray eyes, the slight scar along his jawline, the way his presence seemed to compress the air in the room. "Ms. Reed," he said, his voice lower than she remembered. "You have footage I want. No pleasantries, no small talk." Olivia straightened her spine. "And you have a story I want." His eyebrow quirked slightly. Surprise or amusement, she couldn't tell. "Show me what you filmed." Olivia connected her laptop to the room's display system. The footage played. Julian's mechanical speech. Then the transformation when Penny arrived, the tenderness in his interaction with the child. When it ended, Julian was silent, his expression unreadable. "Delete it." "Excuse me? Name your price. The footage is private." Olivia closed her laptop. "With respect, Mr. Blackwood, I'm not here to blackmail you. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Last night I saw something genuine in a world of facades. I'd like to explore that further. How the ultra-wealthy connect personally to the causes they support. You want to film me? Expose my private life?" His voice remained level, but she sensed danger beneath. "I want to tell an authentic story. The public only sees billionaires as either villains or saviors. I'm interested in the human reality." Julian studied her for a long moment. "Your previous work?" Vivienne handed him a tablet. He scrolled through Olivia's portfolio, her documentary. On Brooklyn gentrification, shorter pieces on community activists, student films that had won minor awards. "Your work is provocative," he finally said, "but naive. You believe you can change minds, and you don't. I know what moves people, Ms. Reed, and it's rarely the truth." He set down the tablet. "What's your financial situation?" The abrupt question threw her. "That's not relevant." "It's entirely relevant. Your rent is overdue, you've maxed out 2 credit cards, and your last documentary remains unsold despite 3 years of work." Heat rushed to her face. "You researched me." "I don't take meetings unprepared." Julian leaned forward. "Here's my counteroffer. 2 weeks. You shadow me, film what I permit. At the end, I review all footage. Anything I deem private gets deleted." "That's not how documentaries work." "It's how this one works. You'll be compensated regardless. $50,000 plus expenses." Olivia's heart hammered. The money would solve her immediate problems, but at what cost to her integrity? "Why would you agree to this at all? You hate publicity." Something flickered in his eyes. "Perhaps I'm curious what you think you'll find." He extended his hand. "Do we have an agreement?" Against her better judgment, Olivia shook his hand, feeling the warmth and strength of his grip. When do we start? Now. Julian checked his watch. I'm visiting Penny at the hospital in 30 minutes. Bring your camera. Over the next week, Olivia witnessed the contradictions of Julian Blackwood up close. In boardrooms, he was ruthlessly efficient, cutting through corporate politics with surgical precision. With his executive team, he demanded excellence, but offered genuine respect. With Penny, he was gentle, patient, bringing her books and sitting for hours while she slept. On the 8th day, Julian took Olivia to his private foundation offices where a team coordinated programs supporting children's hospitals worldwide. Why? Pediatric cancer? She asked as they left. My sister died of leukemia when she was 9. I was 12. The revelation came without emotion, stated as plain fact. I'm sorry, Olivia said, surprised by his candor. It was a long time ago. Is that why you became Penny's godfather? Julian's jaw tightened. Penny's father was my roommate at MIT. He and his wife died in a car accident when she was an infant. I became her guardian. You're raising her? Olivia stopped walking, recalibrating everything she thought she knew. She lives with her grandmother when she's not in treatment. I'm not equipped for full-time parenting. For the first time, uncertainty crossed his face. The camera's off, correct? Olivia nodded, though she'd already captured more than enough to shatter his public image. That evening, Julian invited her to his penthouse to review footage. The space was surprisingly warm, shelves of books, modern art, a piano by the window. He poured 2 glasses of wine as they worked. You had preconceptions about me, he said after an hour of editing. Are they changing? Olivia considered her answer carefully. You're more complicated than I expected. Complicated, he repeated, his gaze holding hers. Is that filmmaker speak for still an asshole, but with occasional redeeming moments? Unexpected laughter bubbled from her. Something like that? Julian smiled, a real smile that transformed his face. You're the first person who's laughed in this apartment in years. The air between them shifted, charged with something dangerous and exhilarating. Olivia set down her wine glass. I should go. Early start tomorrow. Julian walked her to the door. Good night, Olivia. Her name on his lips sent a current through her body. Good night, Julian. In the elevator, Olivia pressed her cool hands to her flushed cheeks. This was getting complicated indeed, and she still had no idea who Julian Blackwood really was beneath all his layers, or why he'd really allowed her into his world. Whispered truths by the beginning of their second week together, Olivia had settled into an unexpected rhythm with Julian. Mornings in his executive suite at Nexus, afternoons at various meetings or project sites, evenings reviewing footage. She'd witnessed his brilliance in action, the way he could dismantle complex problems, his photographic memory, his ability to see 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Today they were in his sleek company car, Julian on a conference call, while Olivia gazed out at the rain-slicked streets. When he ended the call, she asked, Why technology? With your financial background, you could have gone into banking like your father. Julian's fingers drummed once on his leather portfolio. Banking manipulates existing wealth. Technology creates new possibilities. He glanced at her. My father moved money. I wanted to build something. Yet Nexus Technologies is now primarily a defense contractor, Olivia noted. That's a long way from the idealistic startup you described. His expression hardened. The board's direction, not mine. I own 30% of Nexus, not 100. The car pulled into an underground garage beneath an unmarked building in Brooklyn. Where are we? Olivia asked. My private lab. No filming here. The facility was nothing like the glossy corporate headquarters. Exposed brick walls, industrial furniture, whiteboards covered in equations and code. A dozen people worked at various stations, Younger than his corporate team, more diverse, dressed casually, a woman with bright purple hair bounded over. "Boss, perfect timing. We've isolated the backdoor protocol." "Excellent. Olivia, this is Ramona Diaz, our head of cybersecurity research. Ramona, Olivia is here as an observer only." Ramona's eyes widened. "The documentary filmmaker? You actually let her in? Holy shit. He must really—" "The protocol, Ramona," Julian interrupted. For the next hour, Olivia watched Julian work with the team, speaking a language of code and algorithms she couldn't follow. The energy was electric, collaborative, nothing like his corporate environment. This Julian was animated, engaged, occasionally even playful. Later, as they left, Olivia asked, "What exactly are you working on there?" Julian was quiet for so long, she thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he said, "Do you know what a black box AI system is? Artificial intelligence where even its creators don't fully understand how it makes decisions?" "Precisely. Nexus has developed military-grade security systems using black box AI. The Pentagon is our biggest client. And that's a problem because—" Julian's voice lowered. "Because I've discovered vulnerabilities in our own systems. Backdoors intentionally built in. Someone at Nexus is selling access to our security protocols." Olivia's breath caught. "To whom?" "That's what we're trying to determine. Foreign governments, competitors, possibly both." "Have you gone to the board? The authorities?" His laugh was bitter. "With what proof? And who do you think authorized the backdoors in the first place?" Understanding dawned. "You think your own board members are involved?" Julian nodded grimly. "I'm building a case, gathering evidence. When I go public, it will likely destroy Nexus and possibly send several very powerful people to prison." "Including yourself? You're the CEO." "I'm prepared for that possibility." Olivia stared at him, mind racing. "Why tell me this? I could expose you." "You could," he agreed. "But I don't think you will, at least not yet." His eyes met hers. "You want the whole story first." That night, Julian canceled their footage review. Instead, he invited her to dinner at a small Italian restaurant in the village. They sat in a private corner booth, the candlelight softening his features. "No cameras tonight," he said, pouring her wine. "Just conversation." They talked for hours, about films she loved, books he'd read, places they'd traveled. He told her about growing up with impossible expectations, the weight of the Blackwood name. She shared stories of her childhood in a small Connecticut town, her parents' divorce, her drive to document untold stories. "You see the world differently," Julian said. "It's refreshing. Is that why you've let me into your life? For a fresh perspective?" His fingers brushed hers across the table. "Initially, now, I'm not so sure." The touch sent warmth spiraling through her. "Julian, I know. This complicates things." He withdrew his hand. "But I find myself thinking about you even when you're not filming." Outside the restaurant, rain fell in gentle sheets. Julian held an umbrella over them both, their bodies close in the narrow shelter. He hailed a taxi for her, but before she could get in, he caught her hand. "Olivia, regardless of what happens with the documentary or Nexus, I want you to know—" She didn't let him finish, rising on her tiptoes to press her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, then deepened with hunger and need. Julian's arm circled her waist, drawing her against him as the rain pattered on the umbrella above them. When they parted, both breathing heavily, Julian rested his forehead against hers. "This changes everything." "I know," she whispered. In her taxi, Olivia touched her tingling lips, her mind whirling. She was falling for a man whose world she barely understood, who was about to risk everything on a dangerous gambit. And she held in her hands the power to tell his story, or to destroy him completely. Her phone chimed with a text from Julian. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m. I'm ready to show you everything. Fractured trust. The sleek black car arrived precisely at 9 a.m. outside Olivia's apartment building. She stepped inside to find Julian alone in the back seat, his expression grave. "No driver today?" she asked, settling beside him. "What I'm about to show you requires absolute discretion." Julian handed her a tablet. "These are internal Nexus documents detailing the backdoor vulnerabilities I mentioned. This one," he swiped to highlight a section, "proves that Board Chairman Richard Hargrove personally authorized access protocols for entities not on our client list." Olivia scanned the complex technical documents. "Foreign governments?" "Among others. We've traced access points to Russia, North Korea, and private military contractors with questionable allegiances." Julian's voice was tight. "The systems they've compromised protect nuclear facilities, defense networks, critical infrastructure." "My God," Olivia whispered. "This is treason by any definition." Julian took back the tablet. "Tomorrow night, my team is implementing a patch that will expose and seal all backdoors simultaneously. Nexus stock will plummet. There will be federal investigations." "And you're allowing me to document this?" Julian's eyes met hers. "With conditions. Nothing airs until investigations conclude. You protect my team. Ramona and the others are whistleblowers, not conspirators." "Of course," Olivia agreed. "But Julian, when this goes public, you'll face criminal charges too. You're the CEO." "I've made my peace with that possibility." They spent the day at Julian's private lab where Ramona and her team made final preparations. Olivia filmed discreetly, capturing the tension and determination of these young programmers about to take on a corporate behemoth. That evening, Julian took her to his penthouse, where they reviewed the sensitive footage on his secure server. The weight of what they were undertaking hung between them. "This story is bigger than I ever imagined," Olivia admitted, setting down her notes. "Julian, are you absolutely certain about this course of action?" He nodded. "I built Nexus to protect people, not to profit from their vulnerability. This is the only way to make it right." He reached for her hand. "But tonight I don't want to think about tomorrow. Tonight is just for us." Their lips met with newfound urgency. Julian's arms encircled her, lifting her against him as if she weighed nothing. They moved to his bedroom, where moonlight spilled across the vast bed. Their clothes fell away between heated kisses and whispered confessions. In the darkness, Julian's hands and lips traced every inch of her body with reverent attention, drawing gasps and sighs from deep within her. "You're beautiful," he murmured against her skin. "So beautiful." They came together in waves of mounting pleasure, finding in each other an unexpected sanctuary from the storm about to break over their lives. Later, lying in Julian's arms, Olivia traced the scar along his jawline. "How did this happen?" "Car accident, age 16. My father was driving after one too many martinis at his club." Julian's voice was soft in the darkness. "He walked away without a scratch." "Is he still alive?" "No. Heart attack 5 years ago." Julian's fingers tangled in her hair. "He never approved of Nexus, said technology was for people who couldn't succeed in real business." Olivia propped herself up on one elbow. "Is that why you're so driven? To succeed? To prove him wrong?" Julian considered this. "Perhaps initially. Now, I just want to leave something worthwhile behind." The vulnerability in his admission touched her deeply. She leaned down to kiss him, pouring her feelings into the contact. "You will. Starting tomorrow." Morning came too quickly. Olivia woke to find Julian already dressed, standing by the window on a phone call, his voice tense. When he ended the call, his expression was thunderous. "What's happened?" she asked, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Someone warned Hargrove. He's called an emergency board meeting for noon." Julian ran a hand through his hair. "They're moving to oust me before we can implement the patch." How could they know? Julian's gaze turned cold. Someone talked. Only 6 people knew the full plan. The implication hung in the air between them. You think I leaked it? Olivia's voice cracked. After everything? Did you contact anyone last night? Send any messages? I texted my friend Tessa that I wouldn't be home. That's all. Hurt bloomed in her chest. You really believe I would betray you? Julian's expression softened slightly. I don't know what to believe right now, but I need to get to Nexus immediately. As he gathered his things, Olivia dressed quickly. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. This is my story too now, she insisted. I'm seeing it through. At Nexus Tower, security guards stopped them in the lobby. Mr. Blackwood, I'm afraid we can't allow you upstairs. Chairman Hargrove's orders. Julian's face remained impassive. I see. He turned to Olivia. Wait for me outside. Julian. Please, Olivia, trust me. Reluctantly, she exited to the plaza outside, where she paced anxiously. 15 minutes later, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Roof access, service elevator, code 5592. Ramona. Olivia slipped back inside during a shift. Change, and found the service elevator. On the roof, Ramona was waiting with a laptop. Julian's locked out of the system, she explained breathlessly. But we prepared for this. The patch is ready to deploy from my remote server. He's stalling the board while we launch. How did they find out? Olivia asked. Ramona's expression darkened. Vivian Parker. She's been Hargrove's plant all along. The revelation hit Olivia like a physical blow, not her. Julian had trusted his chief of staff implicitly. On Ramona's screen, code scrolled rapidly. It's working, she whispered. The back doors are being exposed and logged to federal servers, now. At that moment, the roof door burst open. Security guards surrounded them, followed by Richard Hargrove himself, a silver-haired man with cold eyes, and Vivian Parker. Arrest them both, Hargrove ordered. Corporate espionage and system tampering. Too late, Ramona said, smiling, despite her fear. It's done. As security confiscated Ramona's laptop and led them away, Olivia caught a glimpse of Julian being escorted from the boardroom in handcuffs, his eyes finding hers across the distance. In that moment of connection, she saw both apology and resolve. Whatever came next, there would be no turning back. Reframed Heart 6. Months later, Olivia sat in a federal courthouse, watching Julian enter in a perfectly tailored suit, his posture straight despite the weight of the proceedings. The trial of United States versus Blackwood et al. Had become the most closely watched corporate corruption case in decades. Julian caught her eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod before taking his seat at the defense table. Though they hadn't spoken privately since that fateful day at Nexus Tower, his lawyers had forbidden it. Olivia had attended every day of the proceedings, documenting everything. The evidence Julian and Ramona had gathered had proven devastating. 8 Nexus board members, including Richard Hargrove, faced charges of conspiracy, fraud, and selling state secrets. The company's stock had initially plummeted, then stabilized under new leadership. The backdoor vulnerabilities had been patched, potentially preventing catastrophic security breaches. Julian himself faced lesser charges, failure to report known vulnerabilities and securities violations, but his cooperation with federal prosecutors had earned him consideration. Today would bring the verdict. As the judge entered and proceedings began, Olivia's mind drifted to the documentary that had emerged from this ordeal. Titled Fatal Flaws, it chronicled not just the Nexus scandal, but the larger issues of corporate accountability and the ethical challenges of advanced technology. Festival programmers were already calling it revelatory and unflinching. She'd shown Julian the final cut 2 weeks ago in a supervised meeting at his attorney's office. He'd watched in silence, his expression giving away nothing, until the final frames. You didn't protect me, he'd said finally. No, she'd agreed. I told the truth. All of it. His eyes had met hers then. Thank you. The judge's voice brought Olivia back to the present. Will the defendant please rise? Julian stood, his attorney beside him. On the count of failure to report known security vulnerabilities, this court finds the defendant, Julian Blackwood, guilty. Olivia's heart sank, though they'd expected this outcome. On the count of securities fraud, this court finds the defendant not guilty. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Mr. Blackwood, this court recognizes your substantial cooperation with federal authorities and your instrumental role in exposing a conspiracy that threatened national security. Therefore, I am sentencing you to 2 years probation and 1,000 hours of community service to be served consulting on cybersecurity improvements for critical infrastructure. Relief flooded through Olivia. No prison time. It was the best possible outcome. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed as Julian emerged. He made a brief statement expressing regret for his failure to act sooner and gratitude for the opportunity to make amends. As the crowd dispersed, he finally approached Olivia. Your documentary premieres next week, he said. Will you be needing me for press? Is that really what you want to ask me? Olivia challenged gently. The facade cracked. No. Julian glanced around at the lingering reporters. Can we go somewhere private? They walked to a small park nearby, finding a secluded bench beneath flowering trees. For a moment, neither spoke. I owe you an apology, Julian finally said. I suspected you when the plan was exposed. I should have known better. You were under immense pressure, Olivia conceded. But yes, that hurt. These past months without you. He shook his head. I've missed you. Every day. Olivia's heart quickened. Julian, so much has happened. We barely had time to figure out what we were to each other before everything fell apart. I know what you are to me. His hand found hers on the bench between them. The person who saw me, truly saw me, when no one else did. The person brave enough to tell my story without flinching, even when it wasn't flattering. And what am I to you now? She whispered. Essential. His eyes held hers. If you'll give me another chance. Olivia studied him. The man she'd first seen as a cold billionaire, then as a complex contradiction, now as simply human, flawed, remarkable, and entirely himself. I have conditions, she said finally. No more secrets. No more questioning my integrity. Agreed, Julian said immediately. Anything else? Yes. She leaned closer. Penny mentioned you're taking her to Disney World next month to celebrate her remission. She suggested I might come along. Julian's smile was slow and genuine. She's always been perceptive. Is that a yes? Instead of answering, Julian drew her close, his lips finding hers in a kiss that felt like both an ending and a beginning. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers. There's something else you should know, he said. I've established a foundation to fund independent journalism and documentary projects. The board wants an experienced filmmaker as creative director. Olivia pulled back slightly. Julian, I won't take a job out of... The board doesn't know about us, he interrupted. They approached me with your name already selected. Your work speaks for itself, Olivia. Fatal Flaws is just the beginning of what you can accomplish. She considered this. I'd still make films that challenge power, including yours. I would expect nothing less. His fingers traced her cheek. We'll figure out the professional boundaries. What matters is that we get to build something new, together. As cherry blossoms drifted down around them, Olivia realized how dramatically her life had changed since that night at the charity gala. She'd set out to capture the truth about a billionaire and had found something far more valuable, her own voice, her greatest work, and a partner who challenged and supported her in equal measure. Together, she agreed, leaning into his embrace as the afternoon sun bathed them in golden light, illuminating the path forward.